Isn't it beautiful? Oh, come on, you're faking it to impress me. You are. Nothing could possibly grow in this. It's pure sand.
The sand beds.
What everyone wants to know about.
From a growing point of view, they're good.
This is the kind of sand I grew up with in my backyard down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You can totally garden in sand just like this. Sand by its very nature is low in nutrients, low in exchange capacity. Vertigating will often allow you to grow in even just pure sand. So you're using the sand just as the medium to hold the roots. Just sand, it's just pure construction sand.
That grain was growing on the sand dunes of Lake Mungo in pure sand with only the available moisture that the continent can provide. This is the precious sand of Lake Mungo here.
And a lot of people think you can't grow in extremely sandy soil, and you can. Irrigating very methodically, and sometimes the best way to do it is not irrigate for long periods of time, but do short bursts. Good irrigation patterns are going to help. Like, this soil is so sandy, if they didn't do these things as a trifecta, they wouldn't be able to be growing like the way they're growing here.
So this is our roadway, and you can see what the parent soil is. A very coarse grained soil. Decided to kind of experiment with these raised beds. We built one and our production went up times 10.
Again, if you're on sand and you're scared about starting a garden, just plant it.
Sand not only will do the job, and along with that, when the sand does dry out, it's the top layer. And this is going to keep fungus gnats from coming in and destroying the roots of your little seedlings, which can be extremely detrimental. So sand is just a wonderful medium all in all.
I know for a fact potatoes grow really well in sand. Root crops grow well, carrots, parsnips, and things like that.
As I'm pulling up these potatoes, I did not see a single issue with nematodes.
Here on the inside bend of the creek, you have this beautiful, gritty, sharp sand. Sharp. Hear it when you rub it together. Now this is what we use. And it's on the inside bend of all creeks and rivers and streams across the planet. All we need is sharp sand, nothing else. That's the ideal way to grow cuttings. Then they grow hair roots.
The number one thing you need to do is hold that soil, well, that sand together so that it can start turning into soil. Once you have the fungi tying up what the bacteria are doing and providing, that is the formation of soil. We want to turn sand into soil. In northern China, they're doing this. In Africa, they're doing this. In the Middle East, they're doing this. This is where we're going to see the most significant amount of change happen on Earth, reclaiming the areas that we originally damaged.
It is relatively easy to work with. It's easier to dig holes, it's easier to amend it, it drains well, which is great for many plants and fruit trees.
The sand must be carbonate free because carbonates affect pH balance. We're growing potatoes, beetroot, carrots, and onions, all thriving in the dense, stable sand medium. And the plants? They're thriving. We're growing tomatoes, brinjals, cucumbers, lettuce, spinach, and those incredible root vegetables, all in the same integrated system.
Sand can be found in just about any place in the world. Sand is everywhere. The sand drains really well, and the plants root in it well because it's inert. It drains water right through. Plenty of aeration goes through after the water passes through, and it just makes for an excellent medium. I wanted to show you guys that sand works. Sand works, and it works really well. And you can get it anywhere in the world. I'd be hard-pressed to think of a place that didn't have sand somewhere close by, in a big box store, somewhere for sale, a landscape supply business, unless you lived in Antarctica. You've got to use coarse sand. It has to be coarse sand, or it has to be sharp sand, because you want the water to drain down straight through really fast. I've used all kinds of sand. The key is it's got to drain well, because then the air is going to follow right down as that water passes through, and it's going to aerate around those roots or around those stems, but the sand is still going to retain a little bit of moisture in there, but it won't be wet because it drains right through. What you don't want to use is like a aquarium sand. You can get it really fine. You don't want to use too fine of a sand because that stuff will hold water for too long. Make sure it's draining well, it holds onto a little moisture, and it's inert.
Now let's look at sand. Water percolates down and particles get trapped, but it's not just a mechanical strainer. The real magic happens in the top few inches of sand. A biological layer forms. This living biofilm of bacteria, protozoa, and other microorganisms is not contamination. It is the filter. It actively consumes organic matter. It's a living engine of purification. This biological layer is why sand filters don't permanently clog. It traps and digests most contaminants at the surface, so only cleaner water penetrates deeper. This is why in the 1850s, after cholera devastated London, the city built massive slow sand filtration plants. Some of those same sand beds are still in operation today, over 150 years later. A sand filter offers permanence and resilience. The sand filter will work for your entire life. It is the superior choice because it doesn't depend on a supply chain that might not be there when you need it. It's not high-tech, it's not fast, but it works, and it works indefinitely. A sand filter is designed to last, and that makes all the difference.
So just a quick overview of sand, silt, and clay. Basically, you have the particle sizes. That's all it's describing is the particle sizes. So sand is the biggest, and then you go to silt, and then to clay. Another benefit of sand is that it will allow root systems, especially fibrous root systems, in a sandy soil, they can, boom, once they hit the ground running with their first little roots, they can shoot out and they'll have greater access to the nutrients that are there and therefore grow faster and grow better. How do you manage sandy soils if you have a sandy soil?
This is a very, very fine textured, it's almost like beach sand. And that's really not good because that will trap water and it won't drain well. This is what I use. This is silica sand. And you can see that all the particles are larger. And I just had one of my longtime customers who's very, very successful growing and selling plants. She switched to coarse sand this year and she said the difference is incredible. This is silica, but you're not going to find that everywhere. So what you want to do is you want to find a gravel yard in your area that sells sand and gravel. Go talk to them because what they do is they screen sand. This is often called concrete sand because it's coarser and they will use it when they're making concrete.
We're going to talk about how sand helps with drainage and why it's actually more in line with how soil works in nature. For me, it's sand. Well, each of those big particles, what do? They add space in your soil. They add air pockets. And that air space is exactly what all these plants in the vegetable garden need to retain their moisture but not sit in water. The second reason why I love sand is because it's a more sustainable resource. It's sustainable and abundant. Sand can be found pretty much anywhere. So I can build a garden without feeling guilty that I'm depleting other natural ecosystems. Finally, using sand in my garden is really just imitating nature. If you think about the soil around a river system, it is full of coarse sand just like this.
One of the things that's basic to gardening is sand. And this, of course, is what you want to get, a good builder sand, or this sand I happen to buy at a local nursery. Now you can use washed builder sand if you wish. If you get a good washed builder sand, you've got something that's relatively sterile to start off with. Remember that the sand lets good air movement and it lets water move through your soil pretty well. And that's important. If you don't have good drainage, your plant will probably die. Also, of course, inversely, if it gets too dry, it can die as well. Sand is one consistent part of having a good soil.
Honestly, the results blew my mind. I planted 8 different perennials in pure sand. Not sandy soil, not a sand mix, just straight construction sand with absolutely zero organic matter, zero compost, nothing, just sand. 3 of them actually grew bigger than the same varieties I planted in regular garden soil at the same time. That's not just surviving, that's thriving. In sand, the crown of the plant stays dry, which is exactly what it wants.
I hate to say it, but it grows better in the sand than it does in the soil. I honestly thought it'd be the opposite way around.
Eggplant, cucumbers, wow. Abu Dhabi's got lots of sand. 1969, that's before most of you were born. Here we did, power, water, food. There's a gift for the desert. I wrote another article called The Exciting Future of Sand Culture. A lot of people saying you can't do it. Don't tell me you can't do it because I'll make it work. There's nothing impossible. The only limitation is how you think. This is the Nature Science Annual by Life magazine. Anyway, tomorrow's agriculture today. You could see what we did. Aeroponics, sand culture, aquaponics, everything you see today, most everything you see today, started at the University of Arizona and Rutgers University. You go to Horta Daily, I look at all that and I say, wow, I'm glad they're catching on. But they are. It's worldwide.